Okay, here's one that kind of ties into the Malta one that we were just doing recently. International spotlight on Siberia as scientists unlock secrets from world's oldest boy and girl. Unique remains give vital clues to man's origins and early travels, say experts. And here you can see the group of them digging into here, and there's these three girls that are digging around there too. Sure are a lot of pretty girls now doing a lot of archaeology. Two separate cases this week show world scientists examining Siberia's deep past to understand the present. In one, the Royal Society in London was shown a genome analysis comparison between Neanderthals and Denisovans. The later from a girl's bone and teeth remains, unearthed in a cave in the Altai region of Siberia, dating back to around 50,000 years. It's like a Denisovan cave. This points to a missing link, a missing human ancestor, say scientists, but also led to colorful headlines and stories on how ancient humans apparently rampantly indulged in interspecies sex in a Lord of the Rings type of world of different human groups. And he's going to use that a couple of times in this, I believe. And I guess I kind of like that idea of Middle Earth and what went on, and so on. But in Lord of the Rings, there weren't any half elves, and there weren't any half hobbits, and there weren't any hobbit dwarves, and there weren't any half dwarves really anywhere or anything. So it's not quite the same, although there were some differences, and I wouldn't say they'd be as differences as an elf or a dwarf or a hobbit, although we appear to have found ancient hobbit-sized people and pygmies and the negritos and so on. But let's just continue. The other, based on publication in Scientific Journal of Nature, is analyzed a 24,000-year-old arm bone of a young Siberian boy, which shows that the distant ancestors of Native Americans looked more European than Asian, a story revealed in the Siberian Times in October. From this bone, scientists have sequenced the oldest ever known genome of a modern human. And here is a drawing of the depiction of it here. And you can see there's this effigy they have here, which kind of looks like, I don't know, a solar disk with wings type of thing. They say it's a bird type effigy. And you can't really tell, but right over there is a Venus statuette, and a bunch were found near it too. Genetically, this individual had no East Asian resemblance, but looked like Europeans and people from West Asia. But the thing that was really mind-blowing was that there were signatures you only see in today's Native Americans. And so it showed something that was unique that comes out of it that they're going to have to track down more. But it also shows Proto-Indo-European connections coming into the Americas. And of course, we now have evidence of untouched and unmixed coming in, and they wonder which side it happened on, and the mixes happened on, and apparently it may have happened some over here and some over there, but let's continue. Disclosures about this first case were also foreshadowed in the story of the Siberian Times and are based on the discovery of early human remains in the Denisovan cave in the Altai Mountains. David Reich of Harvard Medical School said Denisovans appear to be more distinct from modern humans than the Neanderthals. He added, according to New Scientist, Denisovans harbor ancestry from an unknown archaic population that is unrelated to Neanderthals. So they themselves have a ghost hominid inside of that. In the genome we call Denisovan, there's something else that's in that. Black people also show up to have a ghost hominid, much like a Neanderthal, but it's something that we can't figure out what it is yet. It's an unknown hominid from deep Africa someplace, and we haven't found the specimen or been able to get the genome of that to be able to try to verify which exact one it was, perhaps, and so on. In fact, we haven't even figured out for Caucasians which exactly train it tries to come down and made exact connections, but we're getting a little closer with finds like these. Now, Mark Thomas, an evolutionary geneticist at University College of London, and one of my regulars too, claimed that it begins to suggest that we're looking at a Lord of the Rings type world, that there were many hominid populations. Scientists say they discovered evidence of Neanderthal and Denisovan viruses in modern DNA, indicating they originated in a common ancestor more than 500,000 years ago. and that's how far it goes back. Neanderthals coexisted man's ancestors in Europe for thousands of years, but belonged to a different human subspecies, becoming extinct around 30,000 years ago. The revelation brought vivid coverage for Siberia in international media, with the Herald Sun in Australia explaining ancient humans rampantly indulged in interspecies sex and Lord of the Rings type world into different human groups. New DNA analysis is revealed, and they love that phrase, and our ancient bedfellows appear to have included a mystery human ancestor which has not yet been identified, or people that have Denisovan has not yet been identified. The second Siberian case has sparked a cascade of interest from around the world this week, but especially in North America because of its stunning implications for the origins of Native Americans. And here they are working on that site again. And this is a look at the site, much like it probably looks in late October and early November, in the colorful trees. And this is Denisovan Cave itself. And boy, isn't it a pretty little site with a river running by it and so on. But Denisovans appear to be more distinct from modern humans than Neanderthals. Denisovans harbor ancestry from an unknown archaic population unrelated to Neanderthals. As the New York Times told its readers, the genome of a young boy buried at Maálta near Lake Baikal, in eastern Siberia some 24,000 years ago has turned out to hold two surprises for anthropologists. The first is that the boy's DNA matches that of Western Europeans, showing that during the last ice age, people from Europe had reached farther east across Eurasia than previously supposed. And we've been looking at this with the Proto-Indo-Europeans all along, and that supposing thing is changing. How long till it gets into the books, though? Though none of the Altai Boy's skin or hair survive, his genes suggest that he would have had brown hair, brown eyes, and freckled skin. The second surprise is that his DNA also matches a large proportion, some 25%, but they say in the actual paper 14 to 36% of the DNA of living Native American tribes, depending on which tribe. Some of them get as high as 36, others are as low as 14. The first people to arrive in the Americas have long been assumed to have been descended from Siberian populations related to East Asians, but it now seems that they may be a mixture between the Western Europeans who had reached Siberia and an East Asian population, as I've been telling you a long time ago. The Maálta Boy was aged 3 to 4 and was buried under a stone slab wearing an ivory diadem, a bead necklace, and a bird-shaped pendant. Elsewhere at the site, some 30 Venus figurines were found of the kind produced by the Upper Paleolithic cultures in Europe. And I've been showing this to you, and I showed you where they actually run all the way up to this spot. And I told you we'd be talking about that, so here we are. The remains were excavated by Russian archaeologists over a 20-year period, ending in 1958, and stored in museums in St. Petersburg. And now they've been able to do the studies on them and stuff. I believe this is Denisovan's Cave. It's actually named for a cave hermit that lived in there named Denis, by the way. Here is the same Denisovan Valley from the other side, pretty much. And you can see the structures that they've built down in here to do all the studies in, and how it looks probably a little more in the spring to summertime. Entrance to Denisova Cave at the Anui River. I wonder if that's got anything to do with Anu. And Uai has a river epitaph to it. Anu. S.K. Willerslev of the University of Copenhagen and his research team wrote in the Journal of Nature, we estimate that 14 to 38%, that's what it was, of Native American ancestry may originate through gene flow from this ancient population. Willerslev stated genetically this individual had no East Asian resemblance, but looked like Europeans of people today from West Asia. So West Asia and Asia Minor, Anatolia and so on, all the way to there. But the thing that was really mind-blowing was that there were signatures you only see in today's Native Americans also. So apparently the people that made it over there never made it back. You see that, right? Hopefully this isn't too liney for y'all. If I can get that to lighten up at all. No? Dennis O'Rourke, an anthropologist at the University of Utah, an expert in ancient DNA in the North American Arctic, urged new research efforts in Siberia to provide a better context for Willeslev's reconstruction of early American origins. So they started trying to find more, and if you've watched my recent videos, hell, it was all the way in the middle of last year, I showed where they had found these same people all the way in the Americas, unmixed, and it predates the Amerindians by a couple of thousand years of the earliest thoughts they had of the Amerindians coming into North America. And it looks like they kind of skirted the coast, and one ran all the way down through into South America, while the other one spread across the continent and wherever they could go. And they hit a mountain range, and they keep going down the mountain range so they could go up a valley and see if they could make it through and see what's on the other side. Well, why? Because why? Because 24,000 years later, people are going to be wondering what the hell happened on, and we'll be like, oh, that was us. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's me. I think it's a very important and really interesting result, but it is from a single individual, he said. The Toronto Star raised another issue which scientists are seeking to resolve. The discovery does not tell researchers on which side of the Beringia land bridge the groups intermixed, nor when they came to this continent or to North America. Questions Willerslev will have to resolve by sequencing the DNA of ancient individuals discovered in North America. And they've done this more now, and they have figured out, yeah, it seems like it happened in both, but yet neither came back this way. That perhaps when they came through at like the Younger Dryas event and so on, whenever the bridge made it through there, well, afterwards it closed up, and because that's where all the bullshit was happening that was bad, no one tried to go back from that way, and the people on the other side ran far from there also, of any of them that were left, and then came back again, but could not make it through. A few trapped groups became the Eskimos that we see today, all the way around the Arctic Circle. Let's take a look at a couple of pictures here and something else. And you just look up Maálta Boy, and they'll show you some of these pictures here. See if I can get that all in here. I don't know if you'll be able to read any or all of this here. They're showing the maximum, global maximum came out to here, but where it would have been at the normal time that we're discussing here. So that's the extent of it at last glacial maximum. The white parts are where there actual are glaciers and so on, right? And sandy tundra steppe is all the tan parts that are here. Denisova cave is right over here, right? And it shows that it has Denisovans at 40,000 BC, but also Neanderthals, and under the heading of that is Denisova Cave 10 at 50,000 BC, Mezgamalska at 60,000, which is 11, which is here right in between the Black Sea and Caspian area. Then we have Vindija, which is 33,000, which is 12, back over here. El Sidron, 49,000 BC, way over here, a Neanderthal, but he's right near Brahman, but of course much difference in time. Klein Hofer Grotto is 40,000 BC, and that's up here on the edge of the ice, and so you can see it's literally right on the edge of the ice whenever it would have been there. But then we look at modern humans, hunter-gatherers, Kostinki, Maltai, and so on. 38,000 BC, Kostinki man at 1 was here, right above the Black Sea. This is about the same people that end up being in the same genetics that show up being over in South America not too long after this, and they end up being these elongated head type people from there. And there's been some skulls found in through this group in the Altai Mountains and Alsace Mountains that have this same effect. I've got a video of a recreation of one right now. If you look up Alsace, Alsace, woman, you'll see it. So then Lebrana man, Alvide, and all of these different places that you see over here in ancients. But 2, that's the important one, that Maálta man that we've been talking about there. And now they have found more in that site. And of course the Denisovans, so it's way over here whenever they're talking about it. But let's look into something else here. we all agree that that's been a recreation of a Cro-Magnon man, right? Even though it kind of looks like, I don't know, Peter O'Toole's granddad. That's him there, and whatever 25,000-year-old remains they talk about. That's one of the recreations of a Cro-Magnon man, right? And let's look at a few more things. I could make a couple of jokes out of a few of these pictures. We're not going to do that. And I'm just going to come down here until I find the picture that I was looking at earlier. And it was right down here somewhere. Right down here. Now, don't confuse Malta with Maálta. Two totally different places. One of them is way up in Siberia, and the other one is, of course, an island right off the end of Italy and so on. So a little bit different of a place. Oh, so let's look here. This Cro-Magnon. Here's an idea here for you. Just a look at this. That's a Cro-Magnon recreation there. I think we might all agree with that, right? We all agree with that. Okay. Well, let's quit looking at him from the side. Let's come around and look at him right on the face. And let's put him beside an American Indian, why don't we? So now when you put that side by side and you take a good close look at it, you can see there's a lot of resemblance in that phenotype that's there. Definitely. Now it seems the guy on the right has got a little bit more curly hair. And Indians are always known for their real straight hair. But everything else lines up so well. In fact, you look at the nose on the Amerindians, and it's not an Asiatic small flattened nose, but quite often they're big and hooked. Like what's on your nickel. Yeah, in the buffalo nickels, you see this big Romanesque, big hooked nose, which looks a lot more like this, or even more hooked than that. Right? That's Sitting Bull on the left. But I'm sure there's probably more Amerindians you could pull off that would look even closer to him. Sitting Bull definitely has that Amerindian look, no question. Let's take another look here at another one. How about Kennewick Man? Kennewick Man. There's a recreation of him, and I've often said he looks like Patrick Stewart. You know, Patrick Stewart's one of the great Shakespearean actors of our time. People don't know it, but he's kind of drifted from that and decided to do modern acting and got into Star Trek and stuff and doing that. But you can tell from his bravado and things, he would have been a great Shakespearean actor. I often thought that he looks very much like one of the Greeks. Should play, you know, I Claudius or one of the things from that, and I'm sure he probably has before. But that's Kennewick Man there and Patrick Stewart, right? So a different look than you're probably willing to believe. Here's Cro-Magnon right here. If we take a look at that 30,000-year-old Cro-Magnon burial towards the end there, prepared with thousands of ivory beads arranged in dozens of strands, based to their coloring. Cro-Magnon man has been found genetically identical to some modern European populations. So this is really what you kind of call modern man, I guess, in this right here. They have other recreations they've done of these. If we'll take a look at it, it really doesn't look... Oh, this guy looks extremely admix Mongolian, and this guy looks... Whoa, okay, we're just gonna go with that. And what about this look also of a Yamna culture person that they found in the skull? I don't know, that got that big jaw, and the way he does his mouth almost looks like an early... Oh, what's the actor's name from way back when? Now he's gotten so fat and stuff, but I'm gonna ruin your career. That dude. Yeah, kind of has that look to him, really. Almost a Greek-looking appearance too. You see that? Yeah. Not too much different. Variation on a theme. I wouldn't go with that, here's a hobbit and here's an elf thing and here's a big fat dwarf. But of course, if you go through all of our scale of time, what you will see is that we did have little bitty hobbits, and we had Cro-Magnon man that were well over 6 foot tall. Well over 6 foot tall. We also had shorter, stockier Neanderthal types that were extremely strong, and if you compared those two, you would say, well, there's your giant, there's your dwarf, you know, right? You can kind of get that out of it usually. So where's that other picture at? There was another cool picture that's up here. Okay. So here's what they say one of the boy and girls might look like. And I don't know why they gave him such a prognostic jaw and a sucked in nose, except for they're catering to the Chinese or Asian form of it. Because whenever they did the female, she showed up to look like this. They're buried together and they're supposed to be brother and sister. And if you look at her nasal aperture and her non-prognathism and his non-nasal aperture and his huge prognathism, makes you wonder how they could be brother and sister. If you look back and forth, that's just not right. If you put her nose on him, making him prognostic, what did they do? Give him that underslung jaw? Did they unhinge it again and go, oh, ugh? You know, they used to do that a lot to Neanderthals and so on, and unhinge their jaw and make them look like they were, ngh. But, or did he just have an underbite? I don't know. But, look at that girl there. Somewhat Indo-European. How about this guy here? Yeah. Well, this is one of your elder caveman that's right here. This is one of the guys that's up in that area there. Somebody's just drawn a picture of him, but to me that looks a lot like Yul Brynner. Oh man, it looks almost like, I don't know, it almost looks like Sean Connery in the eyes, but a little different, So, elder cavemen, people from around this area. How long ago? Oh, long ago. And again, where we are is, well, that's Denisovan Cave where we're at there, inside the cave entrance. Wonder what more we can find inside of caves here, because that seems to have protected it a lot, and being up in this colder weather area seems to have really protected it a lot and helped us to make it here. So, you know, yeah, some of the comments that people have here, pretty cool. Like, share, and subscribe, guys, and enjoy. More coming soon. Peace.